All right, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks for a little bit. They made a lot of news tonight. This is a team, obviously, that's looked good through preseason, good through training camp, looking to build off a really strong and somewhat surprising 2022 season. And they recently made a move. I think it's kind of one of those under the radar, sneaky good moves that could potentially be huge for them as we get ready for the 2023 regular season.
Yeah, Nick, the Seahawks always seem to be making the right moves at the right time. And I think this was a perfectly timed move for a perfectly timed player. I think it's going to be a big time thing for them. But Seahawks fans, in the comments below today, we got to ask you, you've seen OTAs, you've seen training camp, now you've seen a few preseason games, you got that under your belt. I want to know, who is your preseason MVP thus far? Who's been really showing out to you in the preseason games? Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. But Nick, let's get on into it. What is the latest big time pickup from the Seahawks?
Yeah, so a lot of Seattle fans, you guys may have missed this because it's kind of fell under the news radar. A lot of stuff going on in football right now, but I think it's a really kind of good move by Seattle. Let's go ahead and throw up the report. This is from NBC Sports. The Seahawks signed free agent receiver Malik Flowers, the team announced Tuesday. Flowers is an undrafted rookie out of the University of Montana. He initially signed with the Saints in May following the draft. He was a standout receiver in return at Montana, earning second-team FCS All-America honors as a returner 3 times. In 2022, he had 615 yards on 20 returns, including a pair of touchdowns. Flowers tied the NCAA Division I, FBS, and FCS record with 7 career kick return touchdowns. All right, full disclosure, I'm a big Malik Flowers guy. When he was going through mini camp and OTAs with the New Orleans Saints, we actually did a video talking about him, and there's a lot to like about this guy, right? This is a big-time return talent, as the report said. He has a tied for the record for most return touchdowns. He's got all the NFL size. He's 6'2", 205 pounds, looks like an NFL receiver, looks like an NFL playmaker. The thing with New Orleans, though, he was kind of in a tough situations. The Saints already had an elite returner. They already had a receiver that kind of filled that kind of do everything role, that kind of gadget guy. Because this is a guy right here in Flowers. He averaged more than 10 yards per carry running the ball on top of his receiving threat, on top of his return threat as a senior. He can do a little bit of everything. He is a legitimate playmaker. And I love that the fact that the Seattle Seahawks picked him up. I think he could potentially and maybe even beat out DJ Dallas in the return game. I also love him as a number 4, number 5 receiver who can do a lot of different things for an offense, whether it's speed sweeps, just a guy who can maybe take 1 or 2 deep shots a game. He is all the physical tools. He's a great guy in space, obviously by his return success. I think this is a guy that if you look back over the course of the 2023 regular season, as the Seahawks work through that, don't be surprised if this guy makes the roster, and I think he will. Don't be surprised if there's a number of big-time plays this guy makes as the Seattle Seahawks look to return to the playoffs. Brian Miles, let me throw it over to you now. What do you think of this move by Seattle and potentially the fit here with Malik Flowers?
Yeah, Nick, I think this guy could be a big time contributor to Seattle. Like you said, especially in the special teams game. This is a guy that I think has a lot of potential to grow into as a wide receiver. But you gotta love guys who maybe aren't ready for the big time, who aren't ready to make that starting 3 on your roster. They can fill in a niche on the special teams side of things. And this guy's an elite special teams player already, as portrayed by his record holding NCAA Division I for FBS and FCS. He holds both the records for kick return touchdowns. This guy could be a difference maker in a game if he's able to do things like that. You think like the level of a Percy Harvin type guy back in Seattle. You know, this guy could be an elite level returner. But as he's returning, as he's holding his own, holding his spot down on special teams, he can develop as a receiver because, as we know, Seattle has 2 incredibly good, potentially another one in Jackson Smith and Jigba. If he can get healthy, get back to the field. Lockett and Metcalf, he has a lot of great talent to learn under, to hone his craft. Metcalf has the speed. Lockett has, the savviness. I think this is a really great situation for a young rookie receiver to be in. This is a guy who's been bouncing around already a lot in his undrafted rookie free agent status. And that maybe gives him the chip on the shoulder that he needs to get on a roster. And this is kind of the team that has a chip on its shoulder. I think it's really a perfect matchup. This is a team that was underrated, counted out after they trade away Russell Wilson. We did a video on that if you want to check it out. But this guy, this team, Geno Smith comes in, they step up. They are now contenders. And this is a team that has something to prove. And Malik Flowers is also a guy with something to prove. As we said, we love this guy. I think this is a perfect fit for Seattle.
Minus, you hit on something there, and I'm going to reiterate it because I think it's really smart from your end. This is a team that right now at the receiver position is banged up. Look, we all know the JSN news that came out. Eskridge is fighting through some injuries as well. I believe Johnson is hurt too. Johnson, and Cody Thompson as well. So they got a lot of injuries right now at the wide receiver position. What better time to bring in a receiver who early in his career is going to be a returner primarily, right? If he's going to make the team, it's going to be as a returner. What better time to get him reps in the offense to learn and develop as a receiver than right now while you're really banged up as you're finishing up training camp and working through the rest of the preseason? This is actually a really great job by Schneider and Carroll recognizing this, because I thought Flowers, the one knock on him is that he wasn't as polished as a receiver as a lot of NFL teams like. Well, guess what? The Seahawks get to bring him in and polish him up right now because they have all these injuries. In the meantime, he has a chance, if he's as good a returner as advertised, which I think he is, to make this team as a returner and be an upgrade over DJ Dallas in the return game. This is actually a really smart move by the Seattle Seahawks. This could potentially pay huge dividends if Flowers can develop as a receiver on top of being an elite level returner.